PALS Youth and Families in Green Bay was recently selected for the Green Bay Packers 2024 Impact Grant. Today they ran an open house to help spread the word about their fundraising efforts. The grant will be added to the $600,000 they've already raised toward an expansion of the Green Bay Family Center. The end goal is $1.1 million. Organizers hope to raise another $250,000, and then the Packers grant would match that amount, which would complete the fundraising goal. The expansion would include a large recreational space for the winter, while adding more resources to bring separated families back together in a safe place.
We're a small nonprofit ran solely by volunteers. We have no paid staff. And so for us to be able to be noticed and then recognized and receive this grant by the Green Bay Packers we were so incredibly excited and honored.
The organization is grateful for the grant from the PAC, but they understand there's still plenty of work to be done to maximize the big opportunity. Coming up here